Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 106 of the Custom Apparel Startups Podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And this is Mark Vila from Coleman & Company, and today we're here to talk about something really cool, an experience your customers will never forget.
Yeah, I love this. It's part of our marketing plan, our business plan series. It started with episode 101, and we've talked about things like email marketing, emails that you should send.
Yeah.
We talked about marketing planning, validating, picking a niche.
Yep.
We've had some great conversations so far. This one I think actually works whether or not you've listened to the others.
Yeah, and it does, and that doesn't mean that you get to skip them.
No, you should never skip.
But because
we'll see you in 106 hours.
Yes. Well, the thing is, if you listen to all of them, there's like an Easter egg hidden throughout all the episodes that if you piece it together, it's a clue.
Yeah.
And you can win a prize.
It's a coupon for some mental health counseling.
Yes. And when we talk about an experience that your customers can't forget, maybe we could start off with like a little story.
You know, I love it when you paint us a picture.
Okay, good.
So please do.
Let's do the Dreamland sequence music now, and so you picture this. If you are in a position to close your eyes, it's a fun exercise. Mainly to get to tell people to close their eyes.
Right, it is.
That's the fun part.
Especially while they're driving.
So, if you're not driving and you choose to close your eyes just for the fun of it, I welcome you to participate. But you pull up to your beach hotel for vacation.
Yes.
And you're pulling up. You see the big palm trees. You can see the flowers, the beautiful brick. As you pull up, kind of how the highway, how it rises up usually to get to the entrance of the hotel. So you're at this big curve, and around there's all types of staff, people dressed in nice coats and things like that. And you arrive, somebody opens your door to your car, you come out, you go in the lobby, it smells of just citrus and flowers, maybe a hint of mint in the air. There's some fresh water, cold water with orange slices in it.
Nice.
Then you're guided to your room. There's flowers in your room, some cold water, some drinks on ice, maybe champagne or Coca-Cola on ice, something like that. And then throughout your stay, people are opening doors, smiling at you. They're putting chocolate on your pillow. I hope I'm building this beautiful picture, right? Now, after seeing all that, how would you rate that hotel experience versus the same exact hotel with none of that?
Right.
You walk into the lobby, they hand you a key, you go up to your room, they say goodbye when you leave.
And it's a nice room.
Yeah, it's the same exact room.
Same exact room, same exact hotel. But you're right, that picture you painted of the experience, which is why from now on we're going to call you Big Money Vila.
Yeah.
because I've never been able to afford that experience. But I agree that creates the most lasting impression.
Yeah, it's a mood that you get into, and when it's something that you feel, so it's emotionally tapping. Versus you got a good room and it was a good rate, you liked it, it was very clean, it was pretty, it was cool,
right?
And it was a hotel stay. But next time you're going to go, what are you going to do? You're just going to start shopping
price.
again.
Yeah.
You're going to look at the price, you're going to look at the location, you're going to start your whole evaluation process again. Versus if they deliver you an experience like that, you always are going to go back to that memory. Remember when we stayed at such and such at the beach?
Yeah.
We're going there again.
And sometimes it is like the dressing that they put on things, like the people's uniforms and things like that. Sometimes it's the people that you remember.
Yeah.
Like I remember staying in Miami and there was a great bartender who entertained us for half an hour, or the front desk lady was terrific, or like every time I walked through the staff, the hotel staff was great.
Yeah.
Just very complimentary and willing to help. And all those things are going to contribute to whether or not I'm going to go back there
and this customer experience that we're talking about is something that you can do for your business, and without all the stuff that a hotel does, but you get to do it in a completely different way that creates the same type of feeling for your customers when they go through and they purchase custom apparel or whatever else you might do.
Right, because we talk about competition all the time here, and that's definitely one of the things that can set you apart from your competition. And it's not just, and it doesn't mean that you have to buy really nice sheets and package them in with every custom T-shirt, right?
Though that would help.
It would make you stand out.
Yes.
But it means that you're creating this kind of memorable experience to attach your name to feeling good about a purchase.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives your customers a reason to want to give you money again. You know,
Right.
and that's what we never feel bad about giving money to things that make us feel good, that gave us a good experience.
Yep.
You don't mind giving money to that, and that's the type of experience you want to create for your customers. So, giving your customers an experience that sets you apart from everybody else. That's what this is about. And if you do it, they're going to like you more. They'll remember you, and I think number 3 is your favorite one, right?
Yeah, they will. You'll be able to charge more.
They'll be able to charge more.
They'll perceive what you do, as being a higher value. And when we talked about competitive analysis, and taking a look at your actual competitors in the marketplace, customer experience is one of the things that we mentioned. And that's because if you're in a market where you aren't the cheapest, and somebody else is, and they deliver their goods in a less than professional way, or in a worse way than you do, then you could win that business back and charge more at the same time.
Yeah, and it's kind of it just popped in my head thinking about that. How does Starbucks get away with charging like $8 for a cup of coffee?
Right.
And it's part of the experience. For one, it's like you're a fan of their coffee,
I am.
and you're just like a black coffee guy, right?
Just
to be
coffee.
clear,
please.
He's not a frat
Nothing
guy
$8.
or anything.
I refuse to pay more than $4.
But in your opinion, you would say the quality of the product is good in the first place,
It is very good,
right?
yeah.
So the quality of the coffee is good. But in addition to that, you walk into this place and it's a cool looking place.
Yep.
So that's part of the experience. They train their staff to be very much like.
For the most part, they're very professional and friendly. They greet you when you come in.
Yeah, and they know, and they're offering you lots of different things that you might enjoy and like. And no matter how you order your coffee, they'll do whatever you want.
Right.
And they do it in a cool way where they call your name out and they write your name on the cup, and there's lots of things going on in the background.
They're a bajillion-dollar company for a reason, because after all, they just sell coffee.
Yeah, and there's plenty of coffee places that sell a really good cappuccino,
right,
and things like that. But it's different. They've created an experience. So that's kind of just another example besides a hotel.
I think we should draw more parallels to the coffee business in our
okay,
our
let's do it. Starting now.
We can write off my Starbucks habit.
We're done with this podcast and doing it, but next time.
So I mean, like often we talk about stuff like this, but there's actually been some research done, right?
So just did a little bit of research. I mean, I've done plenty over time to know it, but in this article that I read, it was from Oracle. If you're familiar with them, the big software company, they do tons of stuff. You've definitely interacted with things in your life from them if you didn't know. So they interviewed their executive staff and asked them about what happens when they do different things with customer experience. And customer experience impacts the willingness to be loyal. Customers will switch brands due to poor experience.
Right.
And then customers are willing to pay for a better experience.
And I think all three of those things are really important, especially after coming from a company like Oracle, right?
Yeah. So they know this as a fact. They know they're not the cheapest in any service they offer. But if you purchase software from them, you're going to get that like an onboarding team to teach you everything and walk you through and support you the whole time. Where you can probably get a similar software for cheaper, and if you need help, you can email somebody and they might respond next week.
And I like this variability of customer experience and one that fits your brand and how it might impact willingness to be loyal.
Yeah.
So, there are a couple of neighborhood places in South Tampa that a lot of the employees here go to on a very regular basis that are terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible places. Like the food isn't good, maybe the beer is cheap, but they're terrible.
I know what you're talking about.
But they go because they have this home-like experience.
Yeah.
People know them there.
Yeah.
They come in, they sit at the same table. These businesses have built up loyalty in the local community.
Yeah.
In the same way that you might inspire that same thing in your business.
Yeah, and there's a bar restaurant not far down from that one that shut down. That was almost like a copycat type of a place.
Right.
And but why did that one shut down and the other one didn't? And it's because of experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So simply put, happy customers remain loyal. And the way to create more happy customers is through creating a great experience. And that's kind of the point. So let's get into how to do it.
Yeah, I like what we're starting with here, and that's creating your vision. And That idea that you're deciding in advance, not on what your brand logo is going to be and what the t-shirt designs are and things like that. You're designing what you want your customers to feel like and notice and experience when they interact with you.
Yeah, I like that. It's so this is actually like one of these times where you write something down, and you write it down, you pin it up somewhere, you put it somewhere, and you constantly remind yourself of what your vision is. So we wrote an example of what one could be.
Okay.
This might be yours. Just use this one if you want. You don't have to
I think so.
remake
It's in the show notes.
We want our customers to feel like their order is important no matter how big it is. That it's not just about us taking orders, but creating custom apparel that exceeds their expectations and inspires them. Delivered on time, every time, with stellar results.
That is really good, and I hope you've experienced something similar if you've ever called into ColDesi or Coleman & Company.
Yeah,
because we will spend just as much time, or almost as much time, on a small embroidery supply order, and take just as much care of it, certainly at the shipping and delivery stage as well, as we do with a $50,000 UV printer order.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every order gets checked the same way, ordered the same way.
Same number of people involved.
Same number of people involved, the same approval process if there's an issue with something. You know, it all goes through the same process because we want every order to be great.
Yeah.
And we want them delivered to you on time. I mean, all these things. So some of these mirror, ideas that we have.
Yeah.
But you should create a vision like this for yourself. Starting with a vision allows you to kind of do the rest of the steps because you know the goal you're going towards, and every time you want to revamp things, relook at things, or you make a mistake, you've got something in the center to walk back towards.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like that as well. I will say that there is one difference that I thought of is when you buy a piece of more expensive equipment, we do include some popcorn.
No.
So you get popcorn. That's part of the ColDesi experience because we're synonymous with
Every
popcorn.
once in a while you get candy with supplies.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, so another little thing you might consider.
Yeah, I will.
Giving away an embroidery machine.
I was thinking about just giving away like just a little bit of popped corn.
Oh,
like
okay.
Five.
Like get them started on maybe a Christmas tree
Yeah.
and a popcorn. Like every time you order from Coleman & Company.
Yeah.
You'll get a single kernel,
and you can
of
add
popped popcorn
to the string, and then after the end of the year, you have garland.
I think
for
we
your
have
tree.
a customer experience plan in the making here. Somebody thinks this is a great idea.
Let's stop the podcast right now and go forward.
Let's go take care of that. All right, so we've created our vision. We've given you a good example, but think of your own and really think about it and make sure it matches.
Yeah.
Your business and not ours. Maybe fast and efficient is the experience that you're going to focus on.
Yeah.
Maybe luxurious and, maybe it's that hotel that Mark Vila described that is the experience that you're looking for your niche market, but maybe it's, you want to feel smarter because you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Maybe it's quick, in and out, no nonsense, everybody knows what they're doing and just handles it all so you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to, and with creating your vision, when you're doing something like this, it's interesting because not every hotel is that grand luxury hotel.
Right.
That's one experience that's desirable for a certain group of people doing a certain thing.
Yeah.
You might not want all of that if you're kind of a quiet, reserved, private person on a business trip.
Or if you've got 8 kids in the station wagon and you're going to the beach, you really...
Yeah, so so the next thing, I guess, in deciding this and figuring it out is knowing your customer.
Yes, and again, I guess this is where you would want to have gone through the other podcast episodes because... matching the experience to your niche is going to be really important.
Yeah, and really all of your kind of quote unquote branding, should match kind of the niche that you're living in.
Yes.
So I wrote here, if your customers are kind of urban, cool, trendy style of folks, and that's what you sell, and that's who you sell to, then certain things in the experience should match that. This might be a group of people that want to communicate via text message.
Yeah.
So most of your communication is with text messages.
Yeah, or if you're in the small town or the mid-sized town and you're just doing local business for the football team and for family reunions, maybe you personally stopping by after school and delivering the shirts is part of the customer experience that's going to make a big difference where in a different market that might seem odd.
Yeah, so
You know?
so you like know who your customers are, and this is kind of, you can do this by creating a persona. So this would be kind of making a definition of like maybe your ideal customer or your common customer.
Right. In marketing speak, that's an avatar.
An avatar.
Customer
you know?
avatar.
So tell us about about that. a little
Okay.
bit, that
So
exercise,
for example, let's say let's say an avatar that you might use is if you're in the cheer bling business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. By the way, check out ColDesi-bling.com. It's one of our new websites.
Oh yeah,
You're gonna love that.
It's cool. It's nice.
So if you're in the cheer dance bling business, then then you're selling to mostly dance moms and cheer moms.
Mm-hmm.
So your customer avatar might be a combination of people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be Sheila. She's got 2 kids. One of them's 8. One of them's 16.
Mm-hmm.
One is in dance. One is in cheer. She's very busy. She drives around the state to different competitions constantly. Sometimes her husband goes with her. Most of the time he doesn't. And she's got a small son that she ignores completely.
Yeah.
Whatever that avatar is, whatever that is, that's the kind of thing that you're doing. And if you can put a name to it, like Sheila,
yeah.
then when you're creating your experience, you can say to yourself, what would Sheila like?
Yeah, what would Sheila like?
It's not what you would like to deliver.
Yeah.
It's what your customer would appreciate.
Yeah, and it's great to find one avatar or one persona that you can, one or two sometimes, but that you can ask that question about. Like writers do this, where they talk about, well, what would Harry Potter do in this situation? And like writers would say that because they've built a person. They've built a fictional person that exists in the imaginary world, and then you filter everything through that person in your mind. So that's what you want to do is you have so now you know who that person is, and then you write down what your kind of mission vision statement is, and that's the filter you use. Is that
I have to ask you to do that. Create like an avatar for your noodling shirts.
Okay.
No, don't do that. I was just kidding. Please.
Good. I wasn't prepared.
Please. Okay, so I like the notes that you made. If your customer is a parent of an elementary school student, they're probably busy and they want email updates and text alerts. If you are selling to a retirement community, maybe they want a phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're selling to directly to teenagers, then maybe Snapchat or maybe Twitch is the right way to communicate with them. But it's got to match what you do too.
Yeah, and corporate, they're going to want emails on with kind of official documentation on things. So everyone's going to be different. You've got to figure out what that is, and always kind of ask that avatar, that persona, ask Sheila if this is something that she would like. As far as
what's gonna wow you, and it's okay to have more than one.
Yeah.
Right? More than one avatar. If you have 2 different product lines or 2 different niche markets, or even 2 different really well-defined potential customers inside one market, then maybe you do have 2 slightly different approaches.
Yeah, and that's what, as companies get larger, that's kind of what they have to deal with. So they figure out, okay, here's all of the different avatars that come through our hotel or into our coffee shop. Let's make sure we build an experience that makes sense to all of them. What do they all have in common?
Right.
Things like that.
And here's a good example from the ColDesi world, is I've talked to a couple of our customers that do a lot of videos on Avances recently. And one of them has a couple of full-time jobs, and she's got maybe 1 or 2 customers that she does work for, but mostly she loves to do embroidery with the Avance just for home projects and quilting. Now that's not a typical customer profile. The other one is typical customer for us, who is a small business person that just opened up a retail shop that is doing local business for team sports and things like that. So 2 completely different avatars that you would want to talk to, create a different experience.
Yeah, and part of the experience that is like a common experience between both of these customers that you mentioned is part of the reason why we create lots of different blog and video content.
Right.
Is because a video on how to put a patch on a cap is going to work for all different types of embroiderers, whether it's somebody who's fashion, whether it's a hobbyist or a small business owner. This is a piece of content that they can all relate to in some some way or another to help teach them a skill, which will broaden what they do. So speaking about understanding these customers,
Go ahead.
segue it to the next one is to become emotionally connected with your customers. And this is
this is really important.
yeah. and it's so easy and so hard, at the same time. So what makes your customers happy? What would make that Sheila avatar happy? What would disappoint your avatar?
Yeah.
What's most important to them?
Right.
These are questions to ask emotionally important to them.
And if you're already in business, then if you've been in business for any length of time at all, you've had customers probably that have been elated with what you've done, and you've had some really disappointed or even angry about something.
Yeah.
So you can pull on those experiences to build your avatar and figure out, okay, what did I do right here? And what made them so angry here, and how can I relate to that better?
Yeah, and you've got to get to know them in any way that you can. And of course, as you scale your business and your change, it's harder to build those relationships. But if they know that you care, and you really do care, then this stuff kind of builds.
Yeah.
And you can, so you can build systematic things that you create that have to do with like every order. What would really make that busy cheer mom happy. She's so busy, she's running around like crazy. She really wants her kids to look great in the apparel that they order. It costs them a lot of money, so they want it good. Like, what's going to make her happy is, well, if I deliver it on time, every time, if I follow up to make sure the sizing is correct, if I update her on the status of her order, so she can
relax a little bit.
She doesn't have to think about it.
Maybe you deliver it on site to an event.
Yeah.
I love those examples because you're getting inside that person's head and trying to figure out what's going to make them the most happy.
Yeah, and anytime and this is like also an exercise, especially if you are the owner of the company and you get to interact with your customers individually. I read a story when I was doing this research. It was on Zappos. The shoe company.
Yeah.
So, interesting story. This is how they emotionally connected to a customer, even though they never are in front of each other ever, or barely talk to each other, right? They ordered shoes, they didn't fit. The customer returned them, but they returned them like a week later than the return policy because the customer's, I think, mother had just passed away.
Right.
So the customer had said, hey, I'm sorry, hopefully you'll still accept my return. I know it's a week late, my mother passed it away. So they said, no problem, we're going to take him back anyway. That was one emotional appeal.
Yeah.
The next level up that they did was the company sent her flowers.
Oh, see?
And it's like,
great.
Is that person going to buy shoes from anywhere else
No,
ever again?
No, of course not. Because those people like me.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're talking about here. It should be kind of basic for everybody, right? It shouldn't be hard to figure this out. Is when you meet someone, you're nice to them. You talk to them enough to get to know them, and you figure out what makes them tick, just like you do everybody. To stay away from subjects like close-up magic with Mark Phelan, because he just gets angry and starts doing demonstrations. But there are things like that are pluses and minuses to everybody that you talk to.
Yeah, you're going to regret this joke one day.
I am. Someday I'm going to be in a biker bar.
So speaking of going to bars, so one thing, but seriously though, one thing here is if you can go to the extra mile, that's kind of what that Zappos story is.
Yeah, I agree.
Anytime you can go to the extra mile. So a note we put in the notes, so if you check this, you can remember this later. But if a customer mentioned, I've been so busy lately. Sorry I couldn't come by the shop. Gosh, I didn't even have time to eat breakfast today.
Yeah.
You've probably heard this in your life, right? So this is an opportunity when you deliver the order. Maybe you take a protein bar, you put a little sticky note on it, and you say, hey, enjoy this. The next time you forget to eat, you run out of time to eat breakfast. Put it in the glove box,
right?
And they're gonna see that, and they're gonna, wow, they were listening to me. Like they listen to me, they like me, and it makes them feel really good, and then they're going to remember that gesture. So anytime you could do extra gestures that are emotionally appealing, do them. It's worth it.
And it'll pay off, and you'll feel better because you're just being nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just being good about your business, which is great. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of building a plan based around everything that we've talked about, right?
Yes.
So building a customer experience plan.
Well, one more thing before we jump into that too quick is the last part of kind of this like learning and setting it up is getting feedback. from your customers. So you've got to ask for feedback during the sales process, after upon the closing everything up, and then post sale. Find out, were they happy, what weren't they happy. Anytime you can get more and more feedback, you can do it through online surveys. Like I'll send out surveys, which you guys may have gotten in the past through SurveyMonkey. That's a place you can do it. I think they have a free plan.
Yes.
Or if not, they have a paid one that's pretty inexpensive. So you could do email surveys like that. You could do just email somebody with questions and ask them to reply. You just ask them in person, hey, what could we have done better?
Right.
Find out these things, get that feedback, and then you take this and you kind of bring it back to the front, and you say, does this meet the vision? Should the vision have been different? This customer was upset. What would Sheila have thought about this? And you kind of circle it all back in, and you get it pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, and I hope you can see that when you deal with us once again, is because we are relentless about getting you folks to give us a review.
Yeah.
If you buy equipment or supplies from Coleman & Company or ColDesi, 300% of the time you will get encouraged to review us in some way. And man, let me tell you what happens in the building if we get less than 5 stars. There's a red light, there's an alarm that goes off, everybody has to go out to the parking lot and talk about it. So yeah, be that way. Like, be aggressive about making changes that make your business better.
Yeah, just ask them. That's the simplest thing, and do it according to your own style too. You don't have to fit in any particular thing.
Right.
Just ask a question. Just say, hey, I delivered all this stuff. Is there anything you would have liked better? The shirt, the design, how I delivered it, the
what
order
do you think
process.
Of my hair?
Yeah, my hair. Ask all about that stuff. And a lot of times, if they like you, no, everything was great. But every once in a while, you'll get that person that'll tell you, yeah, it would have been cool, or is there ever something anyone else has done better? Yeah, exactly. So now let's build a plan.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So I'm really interested in that initial contact. Because I think it does set the tone for everything else that happens next. So, and that is the way you answer the phone, the way you introduce yourself, the way you meet a potential customer for the first time, how welcome you make them feel, not just if you have a retail space, but how welcome do you make them feel when they call, and when you meet them in person.
Yeah, or if they come by your booth or something like that. So we've had this conversation plenty of times if you've listened to the podcast. Where just just hello, answering the phone, or T-shirt shop, and it's like all those things.
That's awesome. That makes me get all tingly.
Yeah, it's like when that's. I always just say this: when you look at like the big brands, the companies who are doing really, really well, then pay attention to how they're doing it. They're not doing all this stuff to waste time and to like poke fun at you.
Yeah.
It's like they're answering the phone a very specific way every time. Their emails finish with a certain signature every time. They have standards of how they have to communicate with people, and it's because they know that this is going to get people to come back and back and back.
Yes.
And you've got to do these same things too for your business. It might sound corny and feel corny to like have an opening line that you say every time you answer the phone.
Right.
But dang, does it work?
Yeah, it does, actually.
Yeah. So how are you going to greet them? How are you going to let them know everything you have to offer? And how are you going to make them feel welcome? Whether it's at your booth, in person, over the phone, on their website, whatever.
Listen, don't just think about this stuff in your head.
Yeah.
Go to the show notes for episode 106 and print this out and write something down.
Yeah.
Because you won't do it. Maybe you'll remember to do one thing a little bit better, but if you print this out and you work through it a little bit, it'll become part of your business.
Yeah, this should become something that you physically outline yourself. Initial contact, on the phone. Do it. This is like actual, like if you had somebody that you hired for your business as a customer experience director. Okay, what that person would do is they would have notes of like walks into the store, this, answer the phone.
And that's a real job, by the way.
Yeah, and that's what they do.
He's not making this up.
That's exactly what they do. And then they go through and they test it and they change it and they see how customers like that.
Yeah.
You do it. Actually write down a full plan for all these things with as much detail as you could put in, and you're going to be better than everyone else.
Now the quote stage, the next thing is the quote stage, and that is, it's where I think that more of our listeners might drop the ball and alienate people than any other. because we've seen the emails.
Yeah.
Where even in the autoresponder, it gives you a list of reasons not to do business with you.
Yeah, that's our favorite thing to talk about.
It's our favorite thing.
Here's a list of
I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, all right.
You know, so you get an email or you answer the phone. Hey, Bob's T-shirt shop where you can only order 24 of something or more. You know, or you get an auto-response email with a list of things under the signature. Hey, we only accept this graphics file. We don't do credit. We don't do 30-day terms. You have to provide this. You have to do that. You know, all that says is please go find somebody it's easier to do business with.
Yeah.
So it's not a great experience.
No, it's not a good experience. And guess what? I'm gonna tell you something that I've had this conversation amongst so many people in this building and throughout my career is almost nobody reads that. And if they do, they skim it.
Yeah.
And the person who actually reads the whole thing, and the reason, I'll tell you how you can prove this. If you don't believe me, put a spelling mistake in there on purpose, like a really good one.
Right.
And then wait to find somebody who corrects it for
Yeah.
you. It's going to take 6 months.
Yes.
You know, because nobody's looking at it, so all that stuff doesn't matter right there. It's just they look at it as like, oh, look at
Put
this.
free elephant with every
Yeah,
with every shirt.
yeah, and nobody will see it. So instead, use all that real estate and that effort to communicate your message in a better way.
Yeah. So
you know?
be excited and proud and interested when you present a quote or proposal to somebody. This is the point where you're asking them for money, and you're expressing everything that you can do.
Yeah.
So it's all down to this piece of paper, this email. Everything that you've done, the ads that you've done and going to a show, everything, instead of just shooting somebody, that'll be $14.95 times 12. You know, this is your opportunity to rebuild that value, especially if you're one of 5 people that are going to quote them on the same job.
Yeah, I mean that's great. That's a really great point. Is that if you're going to be up against some other folks, that you want yours to look like when I look at this quote, I feel that something good is going to happen here.
Yeah,
you know,
good.
all right. That's what you want to feel, and then determine how you're going to deliver it too. Is emailing it to them? Is going if it's a school? Is it going to the school and meeting with the person and explaining it to them?
Yep.
Is it doing it over a phone call?
Right.
You know, whatever it might be, figure out how you're going to deliver it in addition to just doing a good job in creating it.
Yeah, and you're answering the customer's questions on a formal document in some ways. So the questions are, how much is it going to be? When am I going to get it? What if I don't like it?
Yeah.
You know, how do I pay for it? You know, these are all the basic questions that you've got to make clear and easy for them to tell.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
So do that.
So then after you quote them, then there's the purchasing stage, and the
Yeah.
actual act of giving money. And I kind of thought this is like it's a stage in and of itself, because I remember when I used to sell equipment, you know, a long while ago, that actual act of giving money was sometimes a roadblock. And you'd
can
lose
be
a
so
sale.
hard.
Yeah, and you'd lose a sale just for in accepting the money.
Right.
So you've got to figure out, you know, how's your avatar, you know, how's the persona of your customer, how are they going to want to pay?
Yeah.
You know, and is your business and your plans willing to work with that? Is it PayPal? Is it credit cards? Is it Apple Pay? Can they do cash? Or are you going to allow them to do checks?
Yeah.
Like, what do they want? Checks is probably not the most common method you should have if your customers are kind of young, hip, urban people.
Right.
They've never written a
checks,
check.
and they don't have cash.
Yeah. However, if it's a school, you know, they still might be having their accounting department issuing a check.
Yeah, and this is actually such a big deal that most people don't think of.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put it down here because I'll give you 2 examples. So the first one is I love the city of Tampa.
All right.
It's great. It does not have a big parking problem for events and things like that. But what it does have is the parking meters where you can pay with an app.
Oh yeah.
Right? So because I can't seem to save my password, I have to attempt to re-sign up for the app. I know what it is. They don't really take PayPal.
Yeah.
So you've got to type in your credit card number at least one time on your phone. So every time I park, it's a huge issue for me.
It's
so I have
annoying.
a really bad. And the other one is working with some folks to do a temporary contract to cut the lawn in another on a rental house that's in another city. Well, I want to do PayPal, and they don't do that. I can write them a check in advance, or I can use Venmo or 2 other things that
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So these are barriers. These are deal breakers.
Yeah.
I don't use either one of those services.
Yeah, so then I can't give you money.
Right.
Therefore, I can't do business with you.
Right. So
you know?
don't be like that. I think it's and make it as pleasant and clean as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, so figure out what your customers are going to need and want, and then figure out a way to get that to them as best as you can. And you've got, all these things come with limitations within your business, but if it's reasonable, do it. Don't do it. Don't skip out on things out of laziness or hard-headedness,
or that you don't know how
or you don't know how to do it. You can learn. Gosh, you can run an embroidery machine. You can do anything.
You can do anything.
You know,
really
like it's like
That's the
it's
truth.
a skill, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like it's necessarily that hard, but it's a lot to know.
There's a lot to know.
You know, and it's the same as tons of other skills out there.
Yep.
You know, somebody like an electrician, who knows how to rewire a house. They'll be able to figure out how to accept PayPal on their phone.
Yeah, they should be able to figure that out. Right.
So it's the same thing. So next would be the fulfillment stage.
Right.
How are you going to fulfill your orders? So
and that's not just at the end with the box that you're putting it in. It's these steps on the way that you put, like how to communicate order status. It's a relief when you order a pizza, and they give you status updates.
Oh yeah.
Right? Instead of back in the day when you just called it in, and then an hour later when they didn't show up, you called and realized that they didn't place the order correctly.
Yeah. I did that recently.
Yeah, I bet you did.
So, but it's communicating the status of the order, letting them know, that's a great thing you could do if possible, where you send an email or a text message and let them know, hey, your order's in production right now, things like that. If you have the ability to do this and it makes sense for your customer,
right.
It's only going to give them a better experience. If you could afford to bring technology in to help you do this, then that's great too. There's tons of software, fulfillment automation software that'll auto send emails and texts. And if you want to get into that, you can. I have no clue how much this stuff costs, but nowadays most software you can get pretty cheap.
Nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays.
Nowadays it is. Okay, so the other thing is one of my favorite questions to see in the Custom Apparel Startups Facebook group is when people ask about where do I get the packages, where do I get the folding bags, how do I put a label on the plastic that I put my shirts in?
Oh yeah.
Do you use a folding box? All these things based around, I want my customer when they open up the box to love what they see.
Yeah.
Instead of giving those Amazon boxes where you order a couple of different things, the box is as big as a table and there's like a single golf ball and a video camera in it bouncing around.
So you could, just some basic thoughts and ideas of things you could do. Fold every shirt individually.
Yep.
If you got the name of when you got the sizes, if it had names along with it, maybe on the size tag you can also put the name. So the person giving them out has Julie, Mario, stuff like that.
Make it easy for them.
So you can, if you're really plush and beautiful, then you could wrap all of them in the tissue paper with a little gold sticker with your logo on it. You can do all that. Maybe it's just getting a thank you note in there, getting product recommendations, free gifts. The protein bar because they couldn't eat breakfast.
That's right. So that'll be the difference between that and getting a box of marginally folded shirts that are dusty from sitting in the warehouse.
Yeah.
They're going to get something professional and beautiful that you're going to deliver for them, and then you get to circle back up to you're building customer loyalty. You can charge more for it because you're giving a better experience.
Yeah, absolutely, and all of those things that you could do. So when you order something from, say, Amazon, right? So the way that it may have worked is that somebody has an idea, they give China a call and ask them to make it, and then China puts them in a cheap cardboard box and sends them over. And then Amazon gets it, and they do not take the crappy box that has the Chinese stamp on it and that's been around the world and send that to you and just put a new label on it, right? Because you'd get it, the box would be destroyed. What a terrible experience that is. No, they do send you a new box with an Amazon sticker, and it's got the product inside, and it pretty much, for me, it always arrives not broken. I don't think I've ever gotten anything broken from them that I can
No,
recall.
some badly packaged.
Yeah,
but I am fascinated with this idea that you pick up the phone and call China.
Yeah, you just call
and
them
literally anyone that ansers
Yeah.
can make you whatever
you could,
you
well,
request.
you could also tweet China.
Or you can do that.
So you tweet China and just let
tweet
them
China.
know that like you want to make this stuff.
Or else.
So what I think about that is some customers will order blank shirts and then they get the box from the manufacturer.
Oh yeah, and they repack it in
and then they
box.
repack, which from a recycling and an economic standpoint, definitely that definitely can be a good thing to do. But if the box has been beat up and shipped to UPS and got wet, and then that's how you deliver your final product, your customer just isn't going to like it.
Yeah, and plus, even if it's not, they didn't order Sanmar shirts.
Yeah.
Right? They ordered shirts from you.
Yeah.
Right? So it should have you on it or nothing at all.
Yeah,
really.
and that's
at least wrap it in butcher paper or something before you send it out.
Butcher paper.
Butcher paper.
Cool. That's actually
okay.
a good idea. Or that paper that you sit on when you go to the doctor's office. You could probably get that. It's probably not too expensive.
It's used. It's really cheap. Okay, so after the sale, what do you think? Thank you message?
Yeah, a thank you message is great. And in the box is a cool thing. But then,
little card.
But also post sale. A thank you email, a thank you phone call, a thank you tweet. Like if you ordered something from China, you could @ China, thank you.
@ China, thank you.
And they would appreciate it. But you can thank them on social media if that's a thing you do.
It would be Sheshe or Ngoy Sai.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you spell that for me?
Later.
Okay,
yeah.
thanks. Or you have to write it down.
I will. Okay.
But
yeah, making sure they're happy is a big deal. This is the time that the survey comes in and where you might get the opportunity to improve, but you'll also get the opportunity to cement the relationship between you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling, and this a phone call or an email is the typical, right?
Yeah.
And then you could do the other things. You could social media tag them and do all that stuff if that's kind of fits your brand and your person.
Hey,
Remember,
listen,
it's about that.
Our ColDesi salespeople, they handwrite thank you cards to the people that purchase equipment from us because they mean it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, that's it.
Absolutely. So you make that phone call and it might just be, hey Jordan, how's it going? You got the shirts last week. You had your company picnic. How did they work out? I just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah, so that's really interesting because a lot of companies don't want to make that phone call
scary.
Because they're afraid that the customer is going to say something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You want to know how it went?
Yeah.
Half of them were the wrong size.
Right. So and that can happen at least until you start getting stuff right.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing, right? As you're trying to get everything right. That can happen, so you've got to kind of have that mapped out in advance what you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that if you are building a customer experience plan, where this is how I quote, this is how I contact them, this is how they're going to buy, this is the likelihood of after the sale them being dissatisfied is really low. Because you've prepped them the whole way.
Yeah.
You've communicated.
And they're not going to be you guys suck.
Yeah.
It's going to be I'm glad you asked. Everything was awesome except.
Yeah.
And then it's cool. They're not because you're already have a relationship and you're already somewhat friends or acquaintances. You've talked.
Yeah, and so then once you've done all this, I think the you've got to just be prepared during the whole stage, and then afterwards follow up. Now you've built a relationship, and then you've got to have a plan for when it goes awry. Right? So what's your thoughts on that? How do you go through that process?
So it's got to be a couple of things. First of all, you have to figure out, you have to realize that if you take 10 to 1,000 orders every month, you're going to get something wrong. Mm-hmm. The zip code, or you're going to get the color of the shirt wrong. What are you going to do if you make a mistake at that stage? So you're not figuring things out. It says, well, that's easy. When they let me know, then I am going to redo a shirt. I'm going to give them an extra shirt, and I'm going to overnight them the fix. This is an expense of me doing business.
Yeah.
Or it's, what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to offer them, I'm going to apologize, I'm going to send them a note, and I'm going to say, listen, if you decide to give me another chance, I'd love to do this again for you, but the right way. Mm-hmm. So I will give you X amount off your next order or a free shirt. and then do a little bit more than you say you're going to do.
Yeah, and for the most part, if you're doing all this stuff to the best of your abilities, from beginning to end, and when you do make the mistake, I mean, it's inevitable that it will happen. No matter how great you are, you're going to make a mistake.
We make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, and the likelihood of them forgiving you and coming back is really likely. They will forgive you. You've emotionally appealed to them. You've communicated well with them. The experience was beautiful, except for this one hiccup.
Yeah.
I'll forgive you for that hiccup. You did so well along the way. You made the mistake. And the folks who are unwilling after all of that, if you really put your full effort into this, after all of that, and you missed 2X shirt, and they are unwilling to forgive you for this, they are probably unwilling to forgive anybody.
You need to lose their email address.
Yeah,
really.
they probably are the worst customer everywhere.
But on the other side of that,
Yeah.
you know, like I've made some big mistakes with customers, like big mistakes.
Yeah.
And the good part is if you do everything you can to fix it, and even if you can't make it whole 100%, if you make this Herculean effort, you know, you could turn them into your best customers.
Yeah, that's
into
true.
your biggest fans.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we've got a couple of customers that are like that, where I don't even remember that when they first got their machine like 5 years ago, we made this big mistake, and they were very angry about it. But we fixed all that, and now they're basically on our side everywhere we look.
Yeah, and it's all about the experience.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. So customers now are they're more empowered than they ever have been to pick options.
Right.
There's plenty of competition out there no matter what you sell. They know that they can go online and look at reviews and research, and they don't even have to necessarily talk to you to have an idea if you're a good person to do business with.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is, you've got to deliver the experience, just that great experience, and you're going to outshine your competition so much, and you're gonna Starbucks them in a way. They were one coffee shop.
Starbucks is a verb.
They were one coffee shop. And they swept across the nation because they were doing things so much better than others. Like Chick-fil-A is another example. Is that they've been around for a while, but the past years, they've taken off. And it's if you've shopped there, then you know that it's always my pleasure. Thank you very much. They've got
overly polite.
Yeah, what did they know? They knew that sitting in a drive-through line is terrible.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They built the entire thing out. They've got dual lanes.
Yes.
Then they have people walking out in the lanes, taking your order on an iPad. Because if we can take more orders here, they knew the slowdown was the one person running the register.
Right.
So they got 4 people taking orders. They also know it's hot outside.
Yeah.
So for their staff, they've got these coolers with fans that are like, it looks like it's a purpose-built thing that's blowing right towards so their employees not sweating on you taking the order. They've built all this stuff out, and then now they have lines around the corner. And next thing you know, now McDonald's, who's been around forever, is building dual drive-thrus. Be that company that all of a sudden you're beating your competition so much that they start copying you.
I think those are both good kind of final examples here, because that's a story about long-term and continuous improvement. And that's what you're going to do too. We really do want you to kind of build that customer experience plan, but don't do it with an eye towards, these are the things that I can accomplish now, or that I have to do all of these things right now. But you're building your own business persona, your own business avatar. This is the way I treat people. This is the way I want them to feel. These are the things that I eventually want to deliver. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to answer the phone really nicely. Please.
Yeah, and that's great. I've got 10, 15 things that I want to make happen on our store. I know we can't do them all at the same time.
Paralyzing.
It's a lot of work, it's a lot of money, but we do this one, and then you do that one, and then you do that one, and you keep growing.
And then in a year, you're great. Okay. I think once again, we've delivered some value.
Okay.
Yeah,
wonderful,
good.
man.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode and enjoyed the customer experience of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. And do me a favor, the next time you're in Chick-fil-A, if you're sitting in the line, tell them one of the ways that they can improve their customer experience is by recommending people listen to the Custom Apparel Shoppers podcast.
That's a good idea.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This has been Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And Mark Vila from Coleman and Company.
You guys have a great experiential business.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.